The night is a quiet place. It is a place where small sounds get bigger. A floorboard creaks, a faucet drips. The hum of the refrigerator feels like a low growl in the dark. You sit alone. You are safe in your house. But the world outside feels close. The windows are dark eyes looking in. The wind whispers things you can't quite hear. It is in these moments when the house settles and the world goes silent, that fear finds a way inside. It doesn't need to break a lock. It just needs you to be alone. The safety of your home is just a feeling. It can disappear. It can be taken away. Each story is about a child. Alone. I was 10 years old. My world was small and safe, contained within the four walls of our little house. It was an age where being alone felt like a grand adventure, a secret kingdom I ruled over for a few hours each night. My mom worked late shifts at the hospital, a hero in scrubs. My dad was a distant voice on a phone, a ghost from a city far away. So after school, the house was mine. A quiet fortress against the encroaching dark. I sat at the kitchen table, my royal throne. My dinner was a feast of microwave pizza. The air smelled of warm cardboard and the sweet, clean scent of dish soap from the sink. My dolls sat propped on a nearby chair, silent companions in a perfect world where nothing bad ever happened. The house was quiet, a deep and settled silence that I had grown used to. The only sound was the familiar low hum of the old refrigerator, a steady mechanical heartbeat in the stillness. And then, suddenly, the silence was shattered. The phone rang. Its ring was a shrill, jarring demand that echoed through the small house, making my own heart jump in my chest. It was an intruder made of sound. Maybe Dad, calling to say goodnight. Maybe Mom, checking in from her break. I walked over, my bare feet cold on the linoleum, and lifted the heavy receiver.
"Hello?" I said, my voice sounding small and thin in the empty room.
A man's voice answered, "Hello." He did not sound angry. He did not sound rushed. He sounded close, calm, too calm. There was a strange crackle on the line, like he was standing just outside.
"Who is this?" I asked, a knot of ice tightening in my stomach. My hand gripped the plastic of the phone.
He laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. It was low and private, a chuckle meant only for himself. "I can see you," he said, his voice a soft poison in my ear. My mouth went dry. My eyes darted to the big kitchen window above the sink. Rain streaked down the glass, blurring the world outside into a watercolor of darkness and distant streetlights.
I couldn't see anything clearly, just shifting, watery shapes. But he said he could see me. He saw me standing in the warm light of my own kitchen.
He said my name, then put the red bear on the table. My favorite bear. My worn, one-eyed, red bear. He knew my name. He knew about my bear. The world I thought was safe had just been broken wide open.
The house was too quiet, a silence that felt heavy, pressing in. I clutched the bear tighter, its worn red fur a familiar anchor. Its button eyes seemed to watch me, a silent companion in the growing dread. The plastic felt cool against my sweaty palm, a small, solid comfort against the formless fear that had been coiling in my stomach all evening.
"No, I'm not going to do that."
I wouldn't unlock the door. I wouldn't let him in. The man's voice fell to a whisper, a chilling intimacy that crawled down the line. I am outside the kitchen window. My blood ran cold. Every nerve ending screamed. It wasn't a prank. It wasn't a dream. I dropped the phone. My fingers had gone numb, refusing to hold the source of the terror. It clattered against the wall and dangled, a pendulum marking time in a world that had just stopped. The line was open. I heard his faint, distorted breathing, a grotesque parody of life, filling the kitchen. Then, a sound from outside, cutting through the rain, footsteps on the wet wooden porch. Slow, heavy, deliberate. The old wood creaked under the weight, a mournful groan of surrender. The wind tested the back door, or maybe it wasn't the wind. He wasn't just on the phone, he was here. Only glass and a flimsy door between us. A fragile, terrifyingly thin barrier. I had to move. I had to hide. My legs were frozen, rooted to the spot. I turned and ran. My feet slipped on the polished floor, a clumsy, desperate scramble for safety. I fled to my room, slammed the door, the sound echoing my own frantic heartbeat. I dove under the covers, pulling the darkness over me like a shield. My heart was thunder in my ears. The phone in the kitchen began to ring again, a steady, insistent pulse of terror, until finally the sound of my mom's car in the driveway. She came home, found the back door unlocked, muddy footprints by the window, and a man's deep boot print pressed into the soft mud, right where he said he would be. I was 8 years old. My parents were going out for just a little while. "Be a good girl," my mom said. Then silence. Orange, purple, deep, inky black. I wasn't scared. I was used to being alone for an hour or two. In my room there was a large old mirror. Tall, heavy, dark wooden frame, cloudy glass like an old photograph. I liked to make faces. That night I walked over and looked at my reflection. I waved. I stood perfectly still. The girl in the mirror smiled. My face did not. I blinked. The reflection did not. It pressed a single finger to its smiling lips. "Be quiet." A soft scratching at the window. Tick, tick, tick. Something was at the window, and something was in the mirror. I didn't scream. The sound was stuck deep in my throat. I felt trapped between two impossible things. Her smile widened. Her eyes grew darker. It was my face, but not me. I finally broke free and ran. The hallway outside seemed longer and darker than I remembered. The smell of damp soil, wet leaves after a storm. I huddled and turned on every light, waiting for my parents' car. They didn't believe me. Dad said the lock was secure. Mom said it was a bad dream. In the morning, he found them. Tiny handprints on the outside of my bedroom window, right where I heard the scratching. Years have passed. I'm not a child anymore, but I avoid mirrors in the dark. Sometimes I see her, smiling a smile that isn't mine. I grew up in a very old house. One winter night, the power went out. The television went dead. The lights blinked out. The wind howled like an angry spirit. Mom was at work. Dad was out. It was just me and my brother. The cold seeped up through the floor. The house felt bigger. I felt smaller. That's when I heard it. A whisper. A very small voice from the darkness near the bottom of the staircase. There was a small space under the stairs. Old shoes, forgotten junk. The voice was thin and raspy, like a child with a cold. I held my breath and crept closer. "Misty? Is that you?" Dust. Mildew. The faint scent of old shoe glue. And then I saw them. Two small, round eyes blinking slowly from the deepest shadow. Not a cat's eyes. I froze. The eyes just stared back at me. Human eyes. I froze, my hands still outstretched. They were not glowing, just there, human. "David, is that you?" I whispered. "Stop it. You're scaring me." The voice was younger, weaker, certain. As my eyes adjusted, I saw him. Small, thin, huddled. Wet clothes clinging to his tiny frame.
"I live here now."
I didn't scream. I scrambled back and ran. I ran for the front door and fumbled with the lock. I burst out into the freezing air and ran to the middle of the street. I stood shivering in my pajamas until my dad's headlights appeared. We went back inside with flashlights. The police searched everything. Muddy footprints, a damp patch under the stairs. Old boxes moved. No boy. We moved 2 months later. A neighbor said sometimes a small child ran to the back fence and vanished. By 12, I was an expert at being home alone. Our house felt like a fortress. Locking the doors was a ritual. Click, clink. I settled with a book, the room warm and safe. Around midnight, I heard a sound. Tap, tap, tap. My skin prickled. A man stood on our porch, smiling, holding a grocery bag. He looked directly at me and held the smile. I didn't open the door. I didn't make a sound.
He knocked again. "Hello?" Then he said my first name, like we were old friends. He started talking about the snack I was eating, asked if I had any to share.
How could he know my name? How could he know what I was eating? I hadn't made a sound. I locked the door twice and backed away. A child alone in a house is a small thing in a big space. The world shrinks to the walls around them, and yet the house itself seems to grow, becoming a vast, uncharted territory filled with echoes and possibilities. Every creak of the floorboards, every sigh of the wind against the glass, becomes a question mark. By day, a house is comfort, a collection of familiar rooms, each holding the gentle rhythm of daily life. It's a sanctuary, predictable and safe. But at night, it transforms. The familiar becomes foreign. Shadows stretch like grasping fingers. Hallways lengthen into dark, uncertain tunnels. And the silence becomes a living thing, breathing in the spaces between heartbeats. The 4 stories you are about to hear are simple, almost archetypal. A phone call, a mirror, the space under the stairs, a knock at the door. They are fragments of a universal nightmare, rooted in the ordinary, which is what makes them so deeply unsettling. They remind us that the most terrifying things don't always come from the outside world. Sometimes they're already inside. The feeling of being safe at home can be a fragile illusion, a thin blanket we pull over ourselves against the dark. These stories are about the moments that tear that blanket away, exposing the vulnerability we try so hard to forget. So listen to that voice inside you, the one that whispers when something feels wrong. It's an ancient alarm, a primal guardian that has kept our ancestors alive for millennia. It doesn't shout. It murmurs a warning from the quietest part of your soul. It is an old instinct, a ritual of survival. Lock your doors, check your windows, keep a light on against the encroaching dark. These are not just habits, they are incantations, small acts of defiance against the unknown. Do not talk to strangers, not on the phone, not on your porch, not through a locked door. Their voices can be a key, turning a lock you didn't know was there. If a noise makes your skin crawl and your heart race, do not ignore it. Do not rationalize it away as the house settling. Trust that feeling. Call someone you trust. Let another voice join yours in the darkness. Daylight returns. The world looks the same. The strange noises are gone. Muddy footprints on the floor. The rain washes them away. But the memory remains, a permanent stain on the fabric of the familiar. These are the lessons learned in the dark. Hear your name at the window. Remember the red bear. See a smile that isn't yours. Turn away from the glass. Hear a small voice under the stairs. Leave the house. A stranger knows your name. Lock the door twice and never, ever open it.